Well, sports fans, it's that time of the year for the NFL draft to start, and everybody's talking about all these receivers. And I told you that I would come in, I would bring somebody in, and we're going to talk about those soldiers in the backfield. We're not talking about the quarterbacks, we're talking about the running backs. So if you enjoy the show, please make sure that you subscribe. Go ahead and help me get turned up here, and I can give you more information on some of the best coaching information dealing with football and skill set and players and things of that nature. Right now, we're talking about the draft. I've already given you the DBs. Now we're going to talk about the running backs, and who other than a great friend of mine, the founder of the Speed Genius, also former running back for Auburn University, no other than Brad Lester. Brad, how we doing, my brother?
Hey, I can't complain. I appreciate you having me on as always, man. I take pride in doing this, so I enjoy it and I appreciate you.
Well, listen, man, for those that watch this show, and then many people remember you in your playing days, and a lot of people are starting to find out how big your Speed Genius Academy is, the NFL players that you're working with, the prospects that you're working with, collegiate guys, as well as the high school guys. I want you to elaborate on that for a few minutes, because I want people that are just tuning in to Coach One Sports with yours truly, Coach Bull Jones. I want those folks to know who you are and what you've been doing behind the scenes since you got off that playing field with Auburn University.
Since I got off the playing field, actually, this is while I was on the playing field. I took the time, majored in kinesiology. I knew that this was something I wanted to do when I left, college football and pro football, was to be involved in football somehow. I didn't know what that meant or to what capacity it would be. I thought I wanted to be an actual football coach. One time I thought I was going to be maybe a trainer at a college or something like that. And then, just training kind of fell in my lap. Had some mentors that led me in that direction, and started out doing performance training for all athletes, and I still do. But I really branded myself over the last 2 years as a running back specialist. I use the Speed Genius, but then also I got another name I use now as running back genius. Just kind of market and brand running backs. So I got everybody's like, you got 3 names? Like, yeah, I do. So it's been a blessing. It kind of fell in my lap, and I've been fortunate to work with a ton of great running backs that started as great high school running backs, college running backs, and now great NFL running backs. Guys like Alvin Kamara, Chris Carson. I got Najee Harris as well. That's your guy. I know you're an Alabama guy. Tank Bigsby, that's at Auburn.
Right.
The list goes on and on right now. So it's been a blessing and an honor to be where I'm at now.
And you've even had some opportunities to interview with some NFL teams that were even some collegiate teams that like really were impressed with what you did, but you decided to stay with what you're doing right now instead of latching on with another team or a professional league team. Tell us why you came to those thoughts. What was it?
It's a couple reasons. It has to make sense for me to be there. I feel like, just from where I am, for us and where I built the business so far, it's kind of hard to walk away from unless it really makes sense for me and my family. B, it's hard to say I had to throw away everything I've done. So, once you're working for an organization 100%, that organization wants you for 100%. You can't train guys from teams that they're playing against or anybody outside the building.
Right.
So that kind of made a difference as well for us making a decision.
Well, certainly we definitely are happy that you're doing what you do. You and I have talked in the past about chasing your dreams and your blessings and your gifts. And that's something that we both going down those roads. And I'm so impressed with how busy you stay. But see, I knew you back when you played running back for Parkview, and your brother Greg and I coached together at Reed High School. And we had to play you. But it was, the work ethic was already there. So what I'm saying, sports fans, this is just not a show and go deal. I remember Brad when he would play that way and train that way, and for you to manifest now your blessings, I really think that that's what my podcast channel is all about. Just showing love to people that are doing positive things in football, in sports, in the community, when it talks about playing and against people, being the best you can be. I think that's important, so that's what Coach One Sports is all about now that I've started my own deal here. And so without further ado, I want you to roll your sleeves up, man. And I'll tell you right now, I have heard about all these great receivers. That's all I've been hearing about. I mean, I've heard about 20 different receivers that are just the top of the food chain. They're just the greatest one since sliced bread. And here it is. Nobody's talking about the running backs. So what I decided to do, I wanted to bring you in and talk about the top 5 that you know of coming in the draft, and maybe it might surprise people. But tell me where it is right now as far as the running back environment for this 2022 draft, and then tell me in no certain order. Tell me who your top 5 are, because I want to give love to some players. I want you to.
May agree or disagree. I gotta go 10. Let me tell you, this draft class is not the most overall talented for us, like having a guy that you can name right off the chart that's going to be the best guy.
Right.
But it has the most consistent running backs that'll be quality running backs all across the board. Usually you have 2 or 3 great running backs, maybe 2 that's in the draft, and maybe 3 or 4 that may be okay, that may can rotate in the league. I got a list right now of 10 that I know could have a long career in the NFL. They're not the most flashiest, but overall as a whole unit of running backs in this draft class, it's probably one of the best ones.
Well, you've had a chance to work with some guys like Najee Harris going in the first round, and some of the other guys that the Carson kid and some Alvin Kamara, who I had to coach against, and I'm still having flashbacks of dealing with him back in the day in high school when I was at Lovejoy. I really want to talk about that. This is your time to talk about the running back. So let's go. Hey, let's go ahead and go with what you got. So I'm handing the ball off to you.
All right, here we go. I'm gonna do my top 10. I'm gonna go the first 5. I'm gonna go 10 down to 1. First 5, I'm just going to give names in school, and then the last 5, I actually give them more of a breakdown. So number 10, I got to go with Sincere McCormick out of UTSA. I actually had the time to see him in person, watch him play, follow him over the last couple of years. He's going to be a good one. Number 9, I'm going to go with Letty Brown out of West Virginia.
Okay.
Comes off more as a shifty back, but if you really look at him, he's more of a downhill guy. So I really had to add him to the group. They don't have him in the top 10 right now. Okay. Taken, but I have him in my top 10.
You got a mountaineer in the list. Boy, I bet you my buddy Coos' corner love that, man. Go ahead.
I got number 8. This is kind of a big sleeper that a lot of people don't know about. Tyler Allegra. I always mispronounce his name. Tyler Algery. He's out of BYU. He had 3 back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons. He's a bruiser, downhill guy, not the most shifty, but his speed is good enough to make 10, 15-yard, 20-yard runs and basically wear a defense down. So I really like him. Number 7, I'm going to go with Kyron Williams out of Notre Dame. I really, really like him. If you really go back and watch him, not this season, but the season before, it really impressed me. I know he had a new line this year, and they struggled a little bit, and that kind of made his stock not as high, but I'm really, really impressed with that guy.
Now, not to cut you off, but tell me, what is he? Do you think he is a true zone runner, or is he one of those power H-back deal backs? Tell me which one you think, inside, outside runner, or which one is he?
I think he's more of a downhill guy. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, every team has a different scheme, so all you need to do is fit one team scheme. I tell players that all the time. You don't have to be for everybody, but your style is your style. And he's going to be a downhill guy. And I mean, I see him making a big impact in the NFL. The only thing I really haven't seen from his film really is pass protection. So that would be a question. But his downhill running ability and his size, I mean, there's no question. So I had to put him on my list. So number 6, I went with this is the biggest sleeper running back wise in this NFL draft. And he kind of came on late in the year, especially in the bowl game. He had a couple impressive runs that, I mean, if you weren't impressed and you think every running back can do what he did, you're crazy. And that's going to be Damian Pierce out of the University of Florida. If you look at his numbers, he had most of his games, he only got 5 or 6 carries. And the bigger games that he did have great games. He averaged 7.7 yards a carry versus UGA. He did that off of he had 12 carries that game. Against Alabama, he had 2 touchdowns. I was very impressed. So the games where they needed him the most and they actually fed him the ball, it was very, very impressive to me. So I had to add him to the list. I mean, there was no question.
And I think, and it's good that you mentioned that because he did that against really good competition. And I got to give credit to those teams that he faced. I mean, he did it. I agree with you. He was one that I was wondering where you're going to mention. I knew you were going to mention him. I just didn't know where he would be on your list. But because I know you, I know that he was going to be there because his toughness and durability.
So number 5, we got to go with Kenneth Walker. And a lot of people are going to be like, man, number 5. But I'm telling you, when I give you my other 4, and honestly, these guys are all right there with each other. I just had to make a decision. If I'm going to label it down to what I'm saying is my top, I got to roll the dice and go with my top. I mean, I got really impressed with him later in the season. It's like he kept getting stronger and stronger. I heard about him at the beginning of the year. Honestly, before that, never heard him before. Never heard him. But so I started watching him. So okay, he's all right. He's good.
Right.
But I watched him another game. Then I watched him that Michigan game, and I was like, I like this guy. I mean, he runs with a good center of gravity, finishes his runs, passes as well, catches the ball out the backfield well. I mean, and he's taking over so many games to where it's like, man, Michigan State's gonna lose this one. And then boom, there he goes. He makes a big play, and they find a way to win. So my number 4.
Now he's number 5. He runs a 4.38 40. How was he number 5?
Because my number 4s are even better. My number 4, 3, 2, and 1 or just a little bit better, not a lot better, just a little bit better.
Well, let me ask you this, just before we move on from Walker. Do you see him as fitting in a pro style offense where it's truly downhill, or do you see him that play action guy like with the Rams or something like that, or do you see him in a zone scheme, or what do you see him as?
I just say he'd be someone perfect, like for the Saints or for the Patriots. Their scheme both fits what he does very well, and those two run very similar offenses. So I could see him in an offense like that.
Gotcha. All right, number 4.
Number 4, it's gonna be a shocker. Tyler Goodson, Iowa. So you got to think, he came in freshman year, had a 600-yard season, came back sophomore year, 800-yard season. Can't remember exactly how many he had last year. I was very impressed with him last year as well. But if you look at his yards per carry, he's having 5.8 per carry. I'm telling you, the thing that impressed me the most, his one-on-one moves, when he gets one-on-one with a defender, it's incredible. His pass protection, I have not seen him miss one pass protection.
Oh, wow.
I want to say he only had 1 career fumble, which is a big deal. So he's just never really got the carries of most of these other guys. Everybody else on the list has almost double the amount of carries that he has. And so NFL analysts and scouts, I don't think they're really looking at that. I think they're looking at, all right, well, this is how many yards he rushed for. Okay, but how many carries did he have? Who did he play against? How's his pass protection? How was he catching out the backfield? So I was very, 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 very extremely impressed. And then the only knock I would have had on him that I thought he was going to run a high 4.5, 4.6 in the 40. Came and ran a low 4.4. And I think that opened a lot of eyes to scouts because I think they were questioning his breakaway speed. And, I had the chance to work with Tyler, for a short period of time from maybe his sophomore year in high school through his senior year in high school. And I never forget, it was SEC teams. I was begging him. I said, hey, man, let's take a look at this guy. He's not big enough. And, he doesn't run hard enough. I said, trust my word on it. If you don't offer this guy, you're going to regret it. And I have coaches tell me all the time that come back and it's like, man, you told me about that Tyler Goodson guy. I said, I know. And he comes from a good family. His dad is a workaholic. I mean, he pushes him to the max. So just having that foundation and the things that he has, I mean, you can't go wrong with having him in your top 5.
Now, what school was he at again?
Came out of North Gwinnett High School. High School. So I've had time to watch him for a while.
And he went to what college again?
Iowa.
Wow.
I don't know who he is.
Now, that's because you really hit me over the head with that one. I wasn't ready. That you got me. I will admit it. But I knew you would bring that because the whole deal is I want people to know about these other kids and I'm talking sports fans. It's from a person that played the game at the highest level and being able to now train players in the highest level. So when you hear that name, you know that he came from the running back came from Iowa. He's a Metro Atlanta kid from North Gwinnett High School.
Yes, sir.
And you got him in your top 5, which tells me he must be doing something right.
Hey, and I'm gonna tell you, even from a mental standpoint, I mean, the guy works his butt off, man. Nothing gets to him. He's a yes sir, no sir guy. Really humble, hard worker. I mean, with the talent he has and having all those attributes and having the family background and just everybody in his corner pushing him, I mean, sky's the limit for that one.
What about his pass protection? Is he adequate at that, or is that something he need to work on the next level?
Right now, I mean, I guess just being the only back, because I know at Iowa he split time. So when he gets in the system where he's getting the ball 15, 20 times a game, on a regular basis, I think people are going to be impressed with him.
Awesome. Let's go to the next one.
Number 3, I'm gonna go with Breece Hall, Iowa State. Got him at number 3. So I like Breece. I've had the opportunity to talk to him several times, and so I'm gonna be honest. This top 3, you can really go anyway. I mean, I can put these top 3 in any order, outside of my number 1. Outside of my number 1, you can put these 3 in any order. Breece, man, you look at him. He has NCAA record in touchdowns, so he has a nose for the end zone. That's what I was most impressed about when I watched this film. There were plays where he shouldn't have scored. Okay. but it's like when he sees it's close to the end zone, he just goes to a different zone. Like his mindset is, I got to get points. Not a real big burner on the
Yeah, I was gonna say that.
Consistent. He finishes runs. He pass protects well. I mean, so anybody like that, you can't turn down. So I had to put him in my top 5, top 3.
Okay, so what about the competition that he faced? Do you
that's
feel like
that's the only reason why I put him at number 3? And so, like I said, these top 3, you can put them in any order as well. Okay. But I put him at number 3 because I just haven't seen him play against the dogs. I mean, I ain't seen him play against Georgia, Alabama, LSU. I mean, football is football. But when I'm evaluating, it's kind of hard when you got these other 2 that are sitting on the list with them. I mean, I can't put them in front of these other guys.
I'm gonna play devil's advocate for a minute before you get these last 2, because when you look at on the field 11 defenders, and how many of those 11 defenders are really high level, average to high level players, or let's just say high level. I mean, and you compare those. How do you make that comparison?
There's maybe only 5 players on the defense that he plays against on a regular that's going to be maybe even get a chance at the NFL. And you look at the other 2 guys, almost everybody on the field has a chance to go to the NFL. So that's what we're going to jump right into number 2. Okay. And you're going to like this one. We're going to go with Brian Robinson Jr. out of University of Alabama. I'm going to say, man, a lot of people are sleeping on this guy. If you watch him, and he was hurt most of the season.
Yes.
Watch him. I'm not even talking about what he did this year. If you watch what he did the past year, coming off the bench for Najee, I was very, very impressed. Very, very impressed. So he was splitting roles with Jason McClendon, who also works for me as well. I mean, great running back. I see him being, a first rounder within the next year or 2 as well. So to see them 2 work together and how he had to take over the backfield by himself after that was very impressive. Catches the ball well out the backfield.
Yeah.
Pass protects. He doesn't look like a big guy, but he actually has great size to him. Yeah. The only knock on him is, his breakaway speed. But honestly, I mean, that's not really that important. He can break a 50-yard run when needed. I think people put too much importance into the 40. Not all 40-yard runners are 40-yard runners on the field. He may run a 4.43 on the field and a 4.5 on the clock.
Break that down, please. Break that down, Brad, for the viewers and the listeners here on Coach One Sports. Break that down, because you just said something that is truly out of the box, and I heard it, but I want everybody to understand what you just said about that 40.
Yes, sir. The 40-yard dash does not equate to football. I mean, it's an athletic tool that shows potential of what he may bring to the table, but you never know what's in that running back's heart or what's in his mindset when he get on the field, or some of those guys. I mean, they're track guys and they just run fast regardless. It don't matter what's in front of them. And you have some when they see what they want and they got a football in their hand, that 4.4, 4.5 can turn into something completely different. I'm a huge believer in that. Let's look at Devin Hester as an example. 4.5 at the combine.
Right, he ran a 4.5 at the combine.
If I'm not mistaken, right?
Right.
Who's catching him in the open field?
Nobody.
Exactly. So that's my point with the 40 is I mean, it's good to have, but I don't equate that to, oh man, I'm not going to draft this guy because he ran a high 4.5 or he ran a low 4.6. Yeah, I think a lot of these guys, again, remember he was hurt a lot last year.
Right.
He's coming off an injury. You only get 6 to 7 weeks to train for the combine. So you mean to tell me you wanted him to go from a football player to a track runner with the injury within 6 to 7 weeks? So I think we just, we overlook things in the 40. Even when it goes back to the receivers, a lot of those guys who ran a fast 4. I went back and looked at the film. They dropped balls left and right. So that don't make them a great receiver.
They dropped a lot of balls.
They dropped a lot of balls.
And another thing about Brian Robinson, to go with what you said, he had over 1,300 yards, but he had almost 270 carries.
Yes, sir. I'm gonna tell you, this is the biggest thing that impressed me. I'll never forget. They played here against Miami for game week 1. I'm watching close, and one of the other running backs, the third team running back, fumbled the ball.
Right.
And I see him on the sideline. I mean, he's going off on him. I mean, like I can't tell you, it almost like he was almost beating him up. Like to take that kind of leadership, because that's your backfield, and you don't want no footballs on the ground.
Right.
I mean, I love that, man. And then you got to think too. His selfishness is he's so unselfish. He sat there for 5 seasons, and waited his time, but behind numerous of great running backs that came through the university. So to have that commitment and not be selfish and wait your turn and then perform when it's your turn, that should be an eye opener for the scouts. Like, hey, we got a guy that's a team player that can play football, and he's about us. So
and mentally tough.
He's mentally tough. I mean, the guy's mentally tough, man. I don't see a flaw in him. I don't see a flaw in him.
That sounds like a Patriots play or a Steelers. Well, not a Steelers because we already got somebody. Maybe it's the Ravens. Maybe it's the Ravens. You know,
the Ravens. Ravens would be great. The Ravens would be great.
Well, so how about the Falcons?
We're gonna move to number 1.
Okay.
And it's gonna surprise everybody. I already know it's gonna surprise everybody. But I'm gonna talk about him before I say a name. The guy is basically a 4-year starter, dominant. Finished his college career with 5.5 yards per carry.
Okay.
Didn't have a 1,000-yard season, but the most consistent running back in this NFL draft. Plays on special teams. Pass protection that's the only thing I would question, but that's something that can be corrected. He has one of the best running back coaches in college football. Not my favorite team, but I'm gonna have to go with Zamir White, University of Georgia. And if you look at him year in and year out, this man is very, very consistent. He split the ball with 4 different running backs last year. He had Kendall Milton. He had James Cook, and then I forgot
McIntosh.
And then there was another guy. It was 5 running backs that he split time with. So he wasn't getting the ball
Milton.
nowhere near as much as these other guys in the NFL draft are. And I hope scouts are looking at that. I mean, when you look at him every year, he's consistent. I mean, you can't get one better.
Now tell me,
that's saying a lot because I'm not a Georgia fan, not a Georgia guy, but I'm gonna call a spade, and he's the best running back in this NFL draft by far.
Okay, what about James Cook? Would James Cook be? Why didn't he make your top 10?
James, I haven't seen him take on a full role yet. I've seen him come in and spill off. I've seen him come in. He reminds me of a lot of. He's similar. He doesn't remind me exactly of, but his style is similar to Alvin Kamara. He's gonna come in on 3rd down and make a play. But Alvin, he's grown to be an every down back now. James is a great athlete. I like him, and I only had top 10, so it's hard to put him in there. But
wow,
he's an exceptional one too. He has breakaway speed that can't be matched. But when it comes to an every down back and someone that, hey, it's going to be a game in the trenches day, I need you to take over. I'm going with Zamir White.
And he also came off injury going into.
He came off, and that was another thing. When he came off it wasn't really that long ago. And so if you got to think, it was like maybe 1.5 years, 2 years ago. And he tore that knee twice. He tore it before he came to Georgia.
Right. And
then he re-injured it coming back too fast. But I mean, I'll tell you, every down back, great catching the ball out the backfield. Coached by Dale McGee, who I see as one of the best running back coaches in college football. Dale definitely like a big brother. So he gives me a lot of advice, and like paves the way for the mentorship for running back coaches in college, NFL, all across the board for me. I like how he coaches his backs, and this is the thing I look at too with UGA's backfield. You very rarely hear of a guy transferring out of their backfield. That's love. For how he's coached, how they managed, and just the production that they have for us putting them in the NFL.
That shows love. That's one of those subtle areas of kids really respecting the coach that recruited them.
Definitely.
And I'm with you again when you talk about Dale McGee, who I love as a man, a father, and as a coach, and just a class act. So it's fitting that what he's been able to put together and bring to Georgia as far as running backs. Well, again, we talk about why they were, as good as they were. And I agree with you. Final thoughts on where do you think the first running back will go in the draft? Just give me your thoughts. Top 15, bottom 15, or early in the second round.
Honestly, with the receivers and quarterbacks and the needs in the NFL this year, I don't see one. Honestly, I don't see one going in the first round. And it should probably be the first time since my year. I want to say 2009 would be the first year. Probably you won't see a running back go in the first round.
Well, I tell you what, you sports fans, you heard it right here with the speed genius, Brad Lester,
AKA
former Auburn running back, great friend of mine. Just a student of helping people get better at their craft. So the running back genius.
Yes, sir.
I'm glad to have you on the show, and thank you for taking time. I know it's been hard to catch you because I know you're in the middle of the training. But once again, we're going to talk again after the draft. But
yes, definitely, draft, we got to talk. I got next year's draft class will be the best draft class in a long time. Running back.
And you should have some guys that you train that are coming out, right?
I have about 7 or 8 next year. The next draft class is probably going to be by far one of the better running back classes. Okay. So you got Tank Bigsby out of Auburn. You got Jason McClellan out of Alabama. You got Dylan McDuffie that ran for 1,300 out of Buffalo. You got Woody Marks out of Mississippi State that had 1,500 yards all-purpose, 800 yards receiving as a running back. I mean, the list. I mean, I got some guys I'm missing on that list, but it's going to be a great group in the 2023 draft class.
You know you're gonna get in trouble for not naming the other guys that you missed.
I'm missing like 5 or 6. I know they're gonna be like, man, coach, you forgot to leave me out. Man,
yeah. You know when they see this, they're gonna remind you. But one thing I will do, I'll give you a chance to make amends when we come back after this draft is over with, and we get a chance to nurture and we build up some of those kids that you're talking about. So once again, we'll get back to that. But my brother, it's great talking to you. Great talking football. Sports fans, you heard it from Brad Lester, the running back genius, the speed genius. Also former running back at Auburn University, as well as Parkview High School down here in Gwinnett County in the ATL. Great program ran by Cecil Flo back in those glory days. I think you all went 3 years without losing the state championship. And it was just great work. But once again, I just want to say thank you. Thank you so much. And we're going to get together again. So, to talk some more football after the draft. Sports fans, if you enjoyed it, make sure you click down the bottom. Next show, we're going to talking about some receivers and receivers, as well as we're going to start talking about those linebackers, and we're going to have some fun. But once again, thank you for joining me, Brad. I appreciate you. Folks who all enjoyed Coach One Sports. Go ahead, Brad.
Hey, War Eagle.
Oh, yeah. Well, go ahead and say it loud. I need you to get it in. Get it in. hey, go ahead and get your War Eagle in. I
know probably got to be a couple Auburn fans out there, so I got to say that.
Oh, most definitely. They get love on the show. They get love. It's all love on Coach One Sports now. It's all love. So War Eagle fans, once again, one of your own here with me, and he's done a great job of building some running backs going into the draft, into college, and them youth kids as well. So, hey, Brad, I appreciate you. We're going to talk again after the draft, and we're going to talk about that stable of guys you got.
Sounds good. I appreciate you.
Appreciate you. We'll see you, and we'll get back to you and talk some more after the draft. Thank you, folks, for watching Coach One Sports with yours truly, Coach Kevin Bull Jones.